I'm gonna break down 24 awesome snowboard tricks that you can literally do this weekend on flat ground. And I'm gonna add chapter markers at the bottom of this video so that you can come back and find your favorite trick or come back and learn a new one. And I have my boy B-Bell with me, so we're also gonna be breaking down some of his riding so that you can see the comparison and possibly some of the most common mistakes. And trick number one is going to be this nollie front blunt. The goal is to put all of our weight over the back foot, and notice how far my belly button is shifted on my back binding. This allows me to get that board to flex. I will lift up my lead leg, getting a little bit more flex, and then notice that my lead shoulder's pointed downhill. This is gonna allow me to go out my dominant direction and finish the trick. Then we got my boy B-Bell here. You're gonna notice that he's very close and doing a great job. One thing that's gonna help is getting that lead shoulder to point down the hill. It's gonna give him a little bit better balance as well as get out a little bit easier. Trick number two is going to be a Nollie Backside 180. Now this trick can be challenging because you are rotating in the blind direction as well as popping off your nose, so definitely be warned, you will need to be able to do switch riding, so make sure you have those. But breaking this down, I'm gonna notice that I am on my heel side edge, and as I get ready for this, I'm gonna shift my weight towards the nose while driving my back shoulder down the hill, and I'm also going to allow my knees to come up while I'm in the air. It's gonna make this look really awesome, especially when you have more separation, and then I'd land in a pretty stacked position back on my heel side edge. Then we got our boy B-Bell, let's go. So B-Bell is doing that backside, he is doing the nollie. I would like to see him pull his legs up more and keep his spine up. I believe that's gonna give him a stronger position and more hang time. Number three is gonna get wild, and we're gonna do a Nollie nose tap. Now this can be a little bit sketchy because you definitely don't want to keep your nose pointed at the ground because you may catch, but you will need to do this thing called independent flexion extension. Essentially, I'm going to nollie, and as I'm in the air, I'm gonna keep my lead leg more down and pull up my back leg, allowing me to grab that board. You will also notice that I'm in a pretty stacked position, meaning that my shoulders are over my nose and tail, allowing me to get that board without actually having to look for it. With B-Bell's attempt, he gets pretty close, but you're gonna notice that once he's in the air, he's bringing his legs up almost equally the same, which is gonna be really hard to actually get that board pointed in the right direction, as well as he does land super back seat. He's on a pretty soft board, so it makes it a lot harder to land. He's gotta do this little wild wheelie to save it. Trick number four is a Nollie nose tap, and I find this to be just as difficult, but less scary. Now the goal is to be able to get a really powerful ollie, so we're definitely gonna explode off of the nose. Once I pop off of the nose, you're gonna notice that I pull my lead leg up and I push my back leg down, allowing that nose of the board to get close to my hand. And once I touch the board, then you're gonna notice that I even my weight out so that I'm landing with both feet at the same time, maxing my ability to absorb the landing. With the B-Bell's attempt, he did a great job grabbing it, but one improvement I think would make this a little bit more awesome is as he's doing the trick, keep his spine more upright, and it's gonna help his landing position. So notice the comparison of he's a little bit more hunched over where my logo or my chest is a little bit higher. I think it's gonna make it a little easier. Did you know that most goggle companies are owned by a massive corporation? And the goggles that you're seeing in this video are actually an independent company called Bennett, and these goggles are designed by skiers and snowboarders with the weekend warrior and hardcore rider in mind. So these goggles are packed with features that can handle any day and any situation. Click the link down below if you want to learn more about the Bennett Viewfinder goggles. Supplies are limited, so don't wait. Trick number five, we're getting a little wild, and this is going to be a Ollie nose to tail tap. This requires a lot of independent flexion extension, timing, and putting the last two tricks together. You're gonna notice that the movement's gotta be extremely quick, so rocking back, tap, and then retract the back leg and tap again. Definitely give this one a try. With B-Bell's attempt, he's actually really close, and it's a challenging trick. So I would say a little bit more flexion of the lead leg and the timing to be a little bit better. He does get the tail tap, which was great, but I just want to see a lot more lead leg retraction right there, and then be able to grab it, and then setting his feet a little bit more even as he lands, just so he has more control in the landing, but this one's hard. Trick number six, we got an ollie to seatbelt tap. If you've been following along, you know I love cradles and seatbelts, so let's break it down. I'm gonna get in a very strong balanced position. I'm gonna rock back, and then as soon as I explode, I'm trying to get my back knee to go across my body and aim for my lead shoulder, which is going across the body towards the logo. This allows me to get that board out from behind me, as well as make it a little bit closer and a little bit easier to grab. You're also gonna notice that I point my lead leg down, getting the tail of the board to be that much closer. And this attempt at B-Bell is actually really close, so good job. The one thing that's going to make this a lot easier is pointing that lead leg down just a little bit. That's going to force the tail of the board to be a little bit closer to his hand. Literally, he is so close. I believe he can get this in the next 3 to 5 tries. Let's go. Trick number 7 is his backside 360, but we're going to keep the nose on the board. So notice that I slam on the brakes, set myself on that toe side edge. That toe side edge is going to give me a lot of power to be able to spin off of. Next, you're gonna see that my lead shoulders wind up. This generates all the power, and then I throw, and I'm just letting my back leg pull up and extending my lead leg. This allows the board to stay in contact with the snow, and this is one of my favorites. This is so fun. With B-Bell's attempt, he's pretty darn close to being absolutely perfect, and when we slow this down, you're gonna notice that he comes up just a little bit shy. So what I would love to see is a lot more wind up in the shoulder, really trusting that and letting the shoulder finish as the board finishes the rotation. This is gonna allow him to get back over his toe side edge and get that full rotation, but he's doing a good job doing the back 3 and keeping the nose in the snow. Probably one of the scariest parts. Trick number 8, and that's gonna be the Ollie frontside 360, and it's probably one of the hardest variations in this to make it proper. So our goal is to wind up and throw, but notice how I'm not cheating the initiation, meaning I'm not rotating 270 degrees as I take off. The goal is to perfectly take off in a straight line down the hill. And that's what makes this one really hard. But let's break it down. You're gonna notice that I get a massive wind up that's gonna help generate as much rotation as possible. Also, I am retracting my lead leg, trying to get as much spring out of my board and as much amplitude. So as here we go, I'm gonna explode off that tail, and my goal is to get my shoulders to spin at 270 degrees of rotation as soon as possible, and then I'm gonna try to scissor the last 90 degrees. Ideally, in the situation, you land on your toes. I did land on my toes, but I slightly rolled back to my heels, and then I extended out trying to fight for grip.
Yo, Tommie's trying to kill me, bro. He's trying to high-key kill your boy. Oh, no! What I need to do, carve into this, charge power, be able to pop on time, and also get my rotation and my shoulders right. Oh!
All right, well, we're moving on.
It's all good.
Trick number 9 is going to be the toe to toes. Essentially what you're trying to do is do a toe side carve and then do a front side 180, land back in a carve, and then perform a cab 180, and just repeat this as many times as you can. So the breakdown is, notice that I'm still in a carve. This allows me to get a very strong takeoff, and I'm leaning to the inside of the turn. I will get low, and I'm winding up my shoulders, giving me that 180 power, and then as I land, I'm landing with my belly button over the inside of the turn, giving me a easier time getting on that toe side carve. I will also press my shins against the front of the boot, ensuring that I really do land in that carve, and then I just do it over and over and over. Trick number 10 is a backside 360 seatbelt, and I apologize for the angle, but we're still gonna break it down. Now, I am doing a backside 360, but because I'm grabbing, the grab's gonna slow the rotation down a little bit, so I'm throwing the trick as if I'm trying to do a 450. Once I'm in the air, the same principles apply for the seatbelt, which is going to be getting my back leg towards my lead shoulder, reaching my lead hand over the tail, trying to connect my hand to my board. But with this 360, I have to look in the direction I'm going so that I can continue the momentum, or else I would get lost in the sauce in the middle of the air. Definitely really challenging, but super fun. Trick number 11 is called a nose block, but you can do this on your tail. The goal is to be able to jump up and bounce just on the tip of your board. A couple key things that are going to help a lot is when I jump up, my goal is to be able to sweep my leg underneath my belly button, making me in a better balanced position over the board. You're also going to notice that I am grabbing my board. That's going to allow me to stay in a lot more compact position, as well as keeping the board upright. And then lastly, keep your belly button stacked over the part of the board that's in the snow. This is going to help you from falling over. And with B-Bell, I believe this is the first time he's ever tried it, so big shout out to the boy for doing it. One piece of feedback that's going to make this a lot more awesome is having him sweep his back leg underneath his belly button a little bit more. I feel like that's going to give him a better balance position, and he's going to be able to bounce there for a little bit longer. So good job. This one's also a super fun but challenging one. Trick number 12, Toeside carve back knee touch. This one is amazing. So your goal is to get into a carve, and as you're carving, think about getting your belly button as low as you can and then leaning into the turn. As I lean into the turn, I'm driving my back knee over my boot, getting myself to like touch the snow, but make sure you're very gentle and progressive with it. You definitely don't want to jam your knee into ice or blow out a kneecap. I've actually broken my kneecap in 3 places. Trust me, it's not fun, but this one's super good. Another bonus tip is as you're doing the knee touch, if you let your lead hip rotate to the left, you're actually going to get your back knee to get a little bit closer to the ground, making this easier. It's another great example of the knee touch, but I wanted to point out what was awesome is notice how much B-Bell's hips are open during this. This is going to make it a little bit easier to stay balanced because it allows his spine to be upright, stacked over the board, and in a better balanced position. Once he touches his knee, he stands up. Pretty darn easy. Trick number 13 is a nollie toe chip backside 180 out. Now you're going to notice that I wind up and throw the trick pretty hard. All the momentum of this trick needs to start in the beginning and then you carry it through the end. As well as the timing has got to be pretty critical. I'm going to throw my shoulders, then nollie toe pick, and then I'm going to keep that momentum and finish the backside 180 out. If you mess up this sequence, it definitely makes this way harder. B-Bell does the trick, but he adds this little spin out, so that's what I want to break down. You're going to notice that he does not wind up with his shoulders, and then his shoulders get really twisted in the middle, and as we get to here, the shoulders have to unwind, causing a lot of momentum at the end of the trick. So I would like to see more wind up in the lead shoulder, and then once he's done the trick, he can keep his core engaged, allowing more of his upper and lower body rotate together, and then when he wants to stop the trick, he can dump on his toe side edge, but he's not going to have this weird late momentum. It's going to be utilized momentum. And I just wanted to show mine one more time. I wind up, and then as soon as I throw, notice that everything gets connected now, and I lock my toe side edge in, and my shoulders don't keep going. Trick number 14 is nollie toe chip frontside 180 out. Definitely the way harder version. So we're going to have to wind up and do the same thought process as the last one. So wind up, create that momentum in the beginning, nollie toe chip, but the biggest difference is as soon as I toe chip, you're going to notice that I pull my legs up, allowing me to have space to do the 180, and then I'm able to finish nice and strong. And I definitely challenge you to try this the next time you go snowboarding. It can be a little sketchy, but definitely give it a shot. With B-Bell's attempt, good job, nollie pop, frontside 180 out, let's go! To make this a little bit more awesome, I would just say keep the spine up and bring the knees up, but if we were playing a game of skate, we count it 100%. Trick number 15 is a nollie toe chip backside 360 out. This one I used to have on lock back in the day, and I'm glad to learn it again. So our goal is to wind up our lead shoulders more than ever, get that nollie, but as soon as we touch the snow, we're not actually trying to push off of the snow, we're trying to let our shoulders continue the momentum, and I do that by letting the lead shoulder drives, but more importantly, I'm looking in the direction I'm going. Once I'm in the air, I pull my legs up, trying to give me even an ounce of a little bit more clearance, and then try to land back on the toe side edge. Again, it's been a while, not the cleanest, but pumped to get it. Trick number 16 is going to be a nollie layback, and the nollie is just for fun. If you have any shoulders, back, or hip issues, definitely be cautious when doing this. Start the layback. The nollie is definitely optional, but the goal is to actually sink your belly button / hip bone all the way to the tail of your board, and then put your hands out. This is not a tripod. In a tripod, you'd let the hip be higher in the sky, so again, just drive your belly button / hip to the tail. Now once we're in it, we can hang out as long as we want. We're hanging out, we're chilling, and to exit this trick, I'm essentially trying to press off with my shoulders a little bit, but pull my board underneath my belly button / center of mass, and then all I gotta do is stand up. Definitely a fun, sick trick. Trick number 17 is getting into a tripod and then giving yourself a high five. So the tripod is essentially a backside 90-degree rotation, getting your hands on the ground and then flinging your back leg up into this position. Once you've established your balance, go ahead and pull your hands away from the snow and give yourself a high five, and then exit the trick. My exit was definitely a little sloppy, but you can't win them all. Trick number 18 is linking as many tripods together as possible before you get dizzy and throw up. This one is definitely super fun. Now the goal is to be able to create the momentum in the beginning and then get in that tripod. And then between every tripod, you gotta stay over the nose in the tripod without letting the tail touch the ground. So I'm trying to keep it up, pulling that leg up, and then getting right back into the tripod. The biggest thing is your board goes across the fall line. Remember to stay uphill or else you will catch an edge and fall. And then essentially I'm letting my lead shoulder look in the direction I'm going, trying to get this momentum, and then I'm up and waiting in this momentum and then sinking right back down. This one's really challenging, really technical, so definitely play around with starting with like 1 or 2 in the beginning. B-Bell had some good attempts here, but this is definitely a lot trickier than people would expect. So one thing that he was struggling with is as he was going from one to the other, he was getting really tall, and then he was losing that press, and then he was sinking down. And when he did that, he just lost a lot of his momentum. So I would say stay in that pressy freshy for longer. Trick number 19 is this wild 180 to 180 to 180 to 180 thing, and this was actually a really good example of upper and lower body separation / moving in the opposite direction. So throughout this whole entire maneuver that I'm doing, I'm always leaning uphill when my board's across the fall line. As I'm going down the fall line, or my board is pointed at the camera right now, that's okay to be flat base, but as soon as my board is going across as it is now, I'm leaning on my heel side edge as well as lifting up my toes so that I can do that. Then I'm using my shoulders in the opposite direction, helping me use like the twist movement to come back the opposite direction. But to get my board to maneuver that quickly, I'm doing this method called scissor, which means my legs move in the opposite direction. So I'm constantly pushing and pulling with my legs, allowing me to do this pretty fast. This is a challenging one, try it, but remember, lean uphill. Please don't catch an edge. Trick number 19 is going to be the cartwheel, and again, one of my favorites because not a lot of people can do them, but I'm gonna break it down for you. Now our goal is to be able to get both hands on the ground, the board to go up and over the body, and then land back down. Sounds simple, but if you have shoulders, elbows, or wrist issues, please use caution. So you're gonna notice that I don't have much speed, which is a big deal, don't go fast, but I'm actually putting the lead hand down, but most of the momentum comes from bringing my back arm up and over, pulling the rest of my body through the cartwheel. Once I'm in the middle of the cartwheel, my elbows have to be locked out and extended because it's gonna be an easier position as the board goes up and over my head. Then I know I'm in the clear. Once I get past that midpoint, I'm trying to pull my legs back underneath my belly / center of mass. So you're gonna see here right now, like push off and like sweep under, and then I bend my knees, just making sure that the board is underneath me. Once it's underneath me, stand up. Then we got our boy B-Bell, and this is a common challenge / common attempt. So I'm excited to see B-Bell get this by the end of the season. And you're gonna notice that his backhand starts kind of bent, and he's not putting that backhand on the ground as strong or as pulling through as I did. At the end, I'll show you that again, but just notice that his backhand is just not going up and over. over. That's going to be a big deal, but good job. Like, he pulled his legs up and got in the air, so that's definitely a good start. And then once you're able to really pull that back hand up and over, that's really going to set the tone for the rest of the body coming up and over. And then real quick, we're just going to watch this back arm is like pulling up and over, and then it's got that momentum and it like carries everything. So I just wanted to show that real quick. Trick number 20 is going to be this handplant variation, and as you notice, I'm on a pretty steep hill on the side of a catwalk. Having a steeper hill is going to make it a lot easier, and then I end up going as perpendicular to the fall line as possible, giving me the most amount of like vert possible. So breaking this actual trick down, you're gonna notice that I am flinging my weight over the nose of the snowboard and putting my lead hand down. With my other hand, which is my backhand, I'm going to grab the board, but I have so much power and momentum that I'm able to get my feet up and over my body, and then when I want to exit, I do a ginormous sit-up as well as fling my heels underneath my belly button. I'm going to show you different variations in other videos, so definitely subscribe because I got a lot of them, and I post short form content on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Instagram, so check out those short snippet videos, but we're moving on. Trick number 21 is going to be a flat ground backside 360. Notice that I lock my toe side edge in. This is going to give me the strongest platform to do the 360 off of, so make sure you lock that in. Next, I have my shoulders wound up because I know I'm not going to go super high, so I have to throw really freaking hard. After I wind up and throw, I'm going to do two things that are game changing. One, look in the direction you're going. That's going to help keep the momentum rotating, as well as bring your legs up so that you can get the full rotation to your toe side edge. Trick number 22 is going to be a frontside shifty with a backside 180 out, and yes, this one's super fun and super twisty. So the momentum is all started when you take off, so definitely make sure you wind up your shoulders and let the shoulders do the rotation of the backside 180, and then essentially I'm letting my lower body go in the opposite direction, mostly using my legs to make that image or that illusion of doing the shifty. So I'm letting legs do that, and then the rest of my body is still continuing the backside 180. If you think about it as your shoulders do the 180 and your legs do the shifty, it's going to make this a lot easier. But as you go in the landing, make sure that you've got the full rotation so you don't catch an edge. I like landing with both feet at the same time, trying to maximize my ability to absorb. And let's see what B-Bell's got. He's definitely got the 180, but I would love to see a little bit more out of the trick. So a couple things that are gonna help is that as soon as he takes off of the jump, his eyes focus down. So he's like looking downhill, where by then I would have been looking back uphill, which is going to free your shoulders to get more rotation. And then also being able to get his legs to move in the opposite direction, where that illusion of that shifty happens by kicking the legs. That's definitely going to make it a lot more awesome. And then the last thing to make this more awesome is I would love for him to go way bigger. When you go bigger, you just have a lot more time to do cool stuff, but that definitely is coming with time and confidence, and he's definitely getting there. Trick number 23 is this awesome side slip nose tail press. And this is also a good drill / test to see if you are more comfortable or more awesome on one side or the other. It's definitely good to be as balanced as possible. Now the goal when doing this is actually letting my shoulders, hips, and knees be towards the tip of the board as much as possible, and I'm trying to get my belly button to shift be on the binding. This is going to help me get in a pressy, freshy position, and then when I want to swap from the nose to the tail or vice versa, essentially I'm popping, but I'm letting the board swing underneath me so that I can make that move pretty quickly. Definitely try this one and then comment down below, are you symmetrical or do you have one side that's a little bit more awesome than the other? And of course we got B-Bell here. Oh dude, he's got little pretz out. Let's go. So he's doing a pretty good job on this one. Definitely awesome. To make it a little bit more cool, I would just say get a little lower so you get more of like a press, a little cool little vibe. And he starts to do that towards the end and keep the board sideways, but notice how he gets like really steezy on this one. Like I would love to see every one of them that steezy. Let's go, dude. Trick number 24 is going to be a backside 180 to switch backside 180 with a nose roll in between. Now the goal is to actually keep the board in contact with the snow at all times. So I'm pivoting over the nose, locking that edge in, pivoting over again. Now a couple things that are going to be really critical for this, obviously is backside 180s, being able to carve regular and switch, But for this specific example, you're gonna notice that I'm using a lot of counter rotation. My eyes are looking up the hill, as well as I'm keeping my belly button over the toe side edge, meaning I'm keeping my weight to the inside of the turn. This helps me get on that toe side carve. And then as I wanna lock that edge in, I'm pressing my shins over my boots so that I can get extra tilt so that I'm absolutely locked in as possible. This is obviously one of my favorites, but all of them are my favorites, but it's one of my favorites, so yeah, I'm stoked. Hope you've loved this video. Definitely give it a like if you've made it this far. And if you're interested in picking up an awesome pair of goggles, check out shopbennettech.com. I designed and created these goggles myself. Been pretty stoked on them, as well as big shout out to P. Bell. If you're interested in getting a lesson from my dude at Keystone, definitely hit him up. And then on that note, you're amazing. I'll see you on Tuesdays for a live stream. If you got any questions, let's go.